जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय जय राम ओम
श्री राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय जय राम ओम
श्री राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम ओम Shri Ram, Jai Ram. Where were we yesterday?
Kaliyamana.
Shani Bhagan Baru.
Krishna Krishna ni begane maro Krishna ni begane maro maro Krishna ni begane Krishna ni be ನಮ್ಮ ಉಡುಪಿ ಶ್ರೀ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ವೇದನೆ ಮಾರೋ ಮಾರೋ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ವೇದನೆ ಮಾರೋ.
The enchanting flute. Though he had only reached the age of 12, such was Krishna's grace and beauty that none could resist him. He is one who can arouse the desire of the world. How then could those poor gopis of Vrindavan resist him? They did not even try. They had fondled him as a baby, kissed him as a toddler, played with him as a child, and now he stood before them, the epitome of all that a man, a true Purusha, should be. Like the Yamuna flowing towards their goal, the sea, so their hearts flow towards their Lord. Their minds were untutored, their intellects poor, but their hearts were large and full of love, and they burst and flowed towards him in a never-ending stream, following him wherever he went. Each morning he left with the Gopalas and the cows to the forest. The poor girls could hardly contain themselves until the evening he returned. They could not concentrate on their daily tasks. They could not think of anything else but him. They begrudged every minute he spent away from them and waited only for the moment when they could see the tip of the peacock feather adorning his hair in the far distance. As Krishna played his divine melody, the entire aspect of the forest changed. The birds flying in the air stopped to listen. Animals moved closer to him. Even the Yamuna is said to have stopped her flow to listen to the enchanting music. All moving things became immobilized, and the immovables like the stones and rocks started to melt and flow. Such was the bewitching power of his music. Even the rocks could not withstand the eager, enticing call of the life divine, for he is Manamohana and one who arouses the desire of all minds. Awake, awake, O sleeping soul, he seemed to be saying, come to me, your Lord. Why do you slumber when I am here, ready to play the dance of the eternal life with you? Wake up, O sluggish mind, awake, a stony heart, come to me, the divine beloved. I will make you experience the meaning of bliss. What meritorious deed has this flute done to have the privilege of imbibing the pure honey of his lips without any restriction? Will that flute ever leave something for us? Will we be ever able to taste the nectar of his lips one day? How lucky are the deer who nestle close to him, nudge him as he plays. How lucky are the cows who stand pinned to the spot, forgetting even to swallow the milk and eat the grass in their mouths, fixing their gaze on him as if they would drink him through their eyes. Surely the birds of this forest must be sages in disguise, for see how they have perched themselves on the branches above his head. Listen to the enthralled music of his melody. See the Yamuna, how she brings lotus flowers as offering, places them at his feet. Even the clouds stop their wanderings and send a mild spray of water over his head like a benediction. Surely the Govardhana hill must be the luckiest of all, for it has the great privilege of coming into contact with his feet and of offering him all the delicacies he enjoys, the fruits, the canes, the tubers and the nuts. One day while wandering in the woods with the Gopalas, the Lord said to them, how noble are the trees! They live entirely for the sake of others. They bear the wind, rain, heat, sleet, but protect us all from them. How covetable is a birth like that, providing sustenance to all beings. They fulfill the demands of all creatures with their leaves, flowers, fruits, roots, tubers. People take shelter beneath them, and finally they give up their very lives to provide man with fuel. Man's life in this world is meaningful only to the extent that his energies, wealth and intelligence are utilized for the good of others. Thus to each according to his needs and capacity, the Lord taught these boys and girls who were devoted to him. How noble are the trees! They live entirely for the sake of others. They bear the wind, rain, heat, sleet, but protect us from them. How covetable is a birth like that, providing sustenance to all beings. They fulfill the wants of all creatures with their leaves, flowers, fruits, roots, tubers. People take shelter beneath them, and finally they give up their lives to provide man with fuel. Man's life in this world is meaningful only to the extent that his energies, wealth and intelligence are utilized for the good of others. Thus to each according to his needs and capacity, the Lord taught these boys and girls who were devoted to him. Every year at the end of the summer season, the cowherds of Vrindavan would offer a great sacrifice to Indra, the king of gods and the god of rain. This was to propitiate him so that he would send enough rain to make the grass grow for their cattle to feed, and not send too much which would make the Yamuna flood its banks, destroy their settlement. Krishna noticed the preparations and questioned his father about it. Every year we make a sacrifice to Indra to show our gratitude, said Nanda. What has he done for us, for which we should be grateful? Queried the Lord. Hush, child, do not speak like that. You have no respect for the gods. Don't you know that it is Indra who gives us rain? We are cowherds. Our wealth is derived from our cattle. How will our cows thrive without grass? And how will grass grow if there is no rain? If Indra is not propitiated, he will not give us rain, or he will give too much of it. And where will we be? Without rain, all human efforts are of no use. Hearing this, Krishna replied, this is a very important upadesh. Living beings are born according to their karma, and they die according to it also. Karma regulates their attainment of enjoyments and their sufferings. Karma regulates their attainment of enjoyments and their sufferings, fears and welfare. To creatures who are the subject to their karma, of what use is an Indra who cannot do the effects of those karmas? Therefore, it is best to do one's duty as born of one's nature and thus honor karma. That is worship. The three gunas of Prakriti, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, are the basis of the origin, preservation and dissolution of the universe. By the power of Rajas, all places get rain, from which all creatures grow food. What has Indra got to do with this? Being a forest tribe, we are always staying in the woods and on hills like the Govardhana. Because of the hill, the rain clouds are stopped, rain falls in Vrindavan, and it is on the grassy slopes of this hill that our cattle graze and grow sleek and fat and yield plenty of milk. So let a variety of eatables be made, let food and gifts be given to all, including the outcasts. Worship the cows with grass and the hill with sacrificial offering. This is my view, O Father. This will make everyone happy, the cows, the holy men and myself. If it is acceptable to you, you may follow it. Nanda had been brought up in the tradition of paying respects to the ancient gods such as Indra, Varuna and others. But he had great faith in the words of his son, who possessed extraordinary powers, as he well knew, though he carried out all Krishna's instructions on the appointed day under the Lord's supervision. Plenty of butter, milk and sweets, all his favorite dishes in fact were prepared in vast quantities. Do not stint on anything, Father, Krishna said teasingly. When you make an offering to God, it should be the very best that you can afford. In and through the prank he was playing, he was also teaching them a valuable lesson, to give honor where honor is due, and also to give lavishly when giving. To give honor where honor is due, and also to give lavishly when giving. Carrying loads of food, the entire community trudged up the hillside. There they lit the sacrificial fire, worshipped the holy men, cows, mountain itself. To generate faith in their minds, Krishna appeared in a gigantic form. As the spirit of the mountain consumed large quantities of the food offerings, no wonder he had asked them to prepare the things he liked best. Then in his own form as Gopala, he prostrated before himself. Turning to others, he asked them, in all the years that you have been giving offerings to Indra, has he come personally to accept them? They shook their heads. Now you see how Govardhana has accepted your offerings in person. After this, they circumambulated the hill, then returned to Vraja in a happy mood after having partaken of the delicious feast. But Indra was not to be dismissed so easily. He was not going to resign his position and relinquish his accustomed offering without a struggle. He had listened to Krishna's audacious words to his father and was determined to teach him a lesson and punish the cowherds for their presumption in withholding the sacrifice which was his due. Thus he assembled all his weightiest rain clouds, hurled them down with such force that it rained in Vrindavan as it had never rained before in their memory. Drops as large as buckets came pelting down, hour after hour, day after day, without a moment of intermission. The river began to overflow, the trees to be washed away. It looked as if the little settlement with all the people and the cattle would be swept away in a mighty flood if something was not done immediately. When they found that the onslaught refused to abate despite their tardy prayers to narrate Indra, the terrified cowards ran to Krishna for help. He calmed their fears, spoke reassuringly, "Fear not, I will protect those who trust in me and have no recourse but me." Telling them to bring their cattle and all their worldly possessions with them, he took them to the Govardhana hill, and then, with the greatest of ease, he uprooted the mighty mountain with his tender boyish hand, held it aloft with one finger, as easily as a child would sport with a mushroom. Snugly ensconced beneath this mighty hill with their cattle and their belongings, the cowherds stayed safely for 7 days and 7 nights, while the rains lashed down in all fury. Thunder crashed, lightning flashed, winds howled, waters poured down in an unending deluge, which resembled the floodwaters at the end of time. For Indra was determined to make them come out of their improvised shelter and beg for mercy. Not even a giant could hold out for so long, thought he, and certainly not a small child like Krishna. Very soon he will get tired, put down the hill, or it may even come down on him, crush the whole tribe to pulp. But nothing of the sort seemed to be happening. The Gopas, with their usual childlike capacity for living in the present, were having a wonderful time in their improvised shelter. They built a fire to keep themselves warm and brought out their usual games and entertainment, holding wrestling of bouts and bullfights, while the gopis danced and sang and gazed adoringly at the Lord. He stood there, holding the hill aloft with one hand, sometimes playing the flute with the other, sometimes tickling the necks of the calves who came nuzzling up to him, sometimes joking and laughing with the boys, never for a moment showing the least sign of fatigue. It was a great holiday for the whole community. They did not have to worry about their usual routine chorus and could enjoy the divine presence unhampered by the pressing needs of their daily routine. At last, Indra's stock of water seemed to have been exhausted. The drops seemed to be losing their intensity. and soon came to a full stop. Even the wind and thunder seemed to have lost their volume, and soon the last howl and rumble died away in the distance. Seeing the sky clear of clouds, Krishna led his entourage out into the open. The land had been ravaged by the rain, but the sun was already coming out, and soon the waters would dry up. The river had begun to subside, and the animals came creeping out of their lairs. In the presence of all, the Lord reinstalled the mountain in its original place. The inhabitants of Raja could not contain their excitement and joy, and all of them threw themselves at the Lord's feet, hailed him to the skies. Indra looked down from his heaven and knew to his fury that a new star had appeared on the firmament which would eclipse him in the years to come. With pride thoroughly humbled, he decided to go to Krishna and beg his pardon for not having recognized who he was, but he was ashamed to go by himself. He requested a celestial cow Surabhi to accompany him. Together they approached Krishna, prostrated before him, while he stood on the sword and sides of the Govardhana. Indra said, "Salutations to you, O Krishna. You are the indweller in all beings and master of all devotees. I seek shelter at your feet, for you are the Lord, you are the teacher, you are the soul of all beings. Please forgive me." Surabhi approached him. "You are the Lord of all that exists. May you deign to be our Indra in the future, so that the holy and innocent may be protected. Allow me to perform the ceremonial bath for installing you as our king. Verily you are born to lighten the burden of Mother Earth." After having extolled him thus, Surabhi performed the Abhisheka to him with her milk. She was followed by Indira, who with the assistance of the sages performed the ceremonial installation of the Lord as King of Kings by pouring over him the waters of heavenly Ganga, brought in golden pots by Indira's royal white elephant Airavata. To the cries of "Hail Govinda, Hail Govinda," they installed him as the overlord of all jivas. This incarnation of the Lord had the express purpose of saving all jivas from the wheel of existence, and thus it was fitting that he never again submitted to another coronation ceremony. When Krishna was thus acclaimed as the Lord of cows and jivas, it is said that milk started to flow from the udders of all cows, and the earth was bathed with their offerings. The rivers began to flow with waters of various delicious tastes. Trees began to shed honey, cereals to grow and mature without any cultivation. After this fantastic event, Gopas, who had not yet understood the divinity of Krishna, were anxious to know more of the details of his birth. They could not understand how Nanda and Yashoda, who were ordinary cowards like themselves, can produce such a prodigy. So they went to Nanda, demanded an explanation. Nanda himself did not know much except what sage Gargacharya had told him, and this he diverged to others. "Hearken to me, O Gopas. I will tell you where Gargacharya has told me about the birth and achievements of my son. Your son," he said, "will help you to attain higher spiritual evolution. He will enable you to surmount all difficulties and contribute to the happiness of your people and your cattle. Those who love him will have no cause to fear enemies, for he is equal to Lord Narayana in respect of auspiciousness, fame, prowess, and other great qualities. Therefore, O Gopas, do not be surprised by these exploits, revealing his divinity and majesty." The Gopas who had personally witnessed these fears were delighted to hear the predictions and started worshipping Krishna as Narayana. Noting the advent of the autumn season, with the nights fragrant with the perfume of jasmine flowers, Krishna, assuming his Yogamaya, decided to enact his long promise to play with the gopis. The full moon of the harvest season rose large and red, painting the eastern horizon with vermilion. The Yamuna rushed, gurgled with the rains, and forest of Vrindavan gleamed in the moonlight, filled with the luxuriant vegetation. and perfumed with the scents of thousands newly opened night flowers. What did it not do to the gopis, whose hearts had already been churned by the god of love? Krishna placed his lips on the magic flute and poured out his divine call of love. The music drenched the air of Vrindavan, flowed into the hearts of the gopis, making them forget everything else. Neither duty, nor honor, nor husband, nor child, nor house did they have. Indeed, they forgot their very bodies. Leaving everything, they flew to their tryst with their lover. But because of their total absorption in him, they did not even notice that many others were also moving in the same direction. As soon as the first plaintive call of his flute was heard, they left unfinished whatever work they had been engaged in, ran to meet their lover. Some who were engaged in milking cows put down their pails. Some kept the milk on the fire, left it there. Some were feeding their babies or giving food to their husband. Leaving all those half done, they hurried toward the forest, totally oblivious of their neglected duties. Some were bathing, some were dressing, some were applying makeup, but even though they had put only one earring and applied collyrium to one eye and were only half dressed, they left everything and ran as the musk deer runs, maddened by the magic of the music of the flute. Though their men tried to stop them, they would not listen, for their minds were completely absorbed in Krishna alone. The rest reached him panting and excited, with parted lips, and their whole attitude was wanton. They saw him only as their lover, but one more test had to be passed before they achieved their desire. The jiva, in its quest for God, has to overcome many obstacles. Only the intrepid, who never give up, come what may, achieve the desired union. The gopis have already proved themselves devoid of ego. Now they had to prove themselves ready to follow his path, even if he himself spurned them. The Lord spoke to them. What is it that brings you here at this time of the night? Have you come to admire the beauty of the forest, bright with the silvery rays of the moon? In that case you may return home, since you have seen it. If, however, you have come here due to your attraction for me, then it is my duty to remind you that the highest duty of a woman consists in looking after the needs of her husband, even if he is ill-mannered, old, incurably ill, or poverty-stricken. To have illicit relationship with a lover is a bar to heaven and a stain on one's reputation on earth. By thinking of me and meditating on me, you will attain a high state of spiritual love, which is far better than physical love. Go back to the security of your home, therefore, or else be forever branded as abandoned women, crazy with love for Krishna. What can I offer you which is comparable to the security of your own homes and husband? My way is fraught with danger. It ill befits girl like you to be senior with a boy like me at this time of the night. Only the soul which holds to God through all the trials and tribulation that beset the path of devotion, which holds on through the hours of darkness when we feel that God himself has forsaken us, is fit to retain ultimate union with him. O Lord of the heart, they begged, do not desert us now. After we have left everything and come to you, our only fault is that we love you too much. So saying, they sank to the ground in a state of despair. Then the Lord, who had only been testing their constancy, bent down and lifted them up. With the tip of his yellow garment, he wiped out their tears. They tenderly led them to the banks of Yamuna, where the setting was romantic enough to enchant the heart of any woman, and played the game of love with them. They spread the soft upper parts of their attire. As the gopis were thus searching frantically, they suddenly saw two sets of footprints in the hand. After a while they realized the one who was most fascinated among them, who was still humble, was not in their midst. Her name was Radha. Luckiest among those gopis, who were themselves luckier than ordinary mortals, Radha was specially dear to Krishna, for it is said that she was the incarnation of his Prakriti or nature. The Lord's Prakriti is simple, yet inexplicable, so also was Radha. As the gopis were thus searching frantically, they suddenly saw two sets of footprints in the sand. Ah, here I can see two sets of footprints. Look, where they have wandered off with their arms entwined. Here he must have carried her in his arms across the stream. So lamenting they wandered on, suddenly came upon their object of envy, Radha herself. Ever since she had heard the story of how Krishna carried Sudama on his shoulder, Sridhama on his shoulder, she had cherished a secret wish to be carried by him in a similar manner, and at that very spot she had begged him to carry her. He had knelt down, but just at that moment the thought occurred to her how fortunate she was, how she would boast of her conquest